Hey, friends. Hey there. If you're stopping by watching the replay, thank you so much for checking it out. My name is Svava Brooks. I am abuse survivor coach, and I love to hang out here on Periscope and YouTube Tuesdays and Thursdays, most weeks, where I love to hang out with fellow survivor thrivers on the healing and recovery after abuse and trauma. And if you are here with us live, please say hello. Please let me know that you're here so I can welcome you, check in with you. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about the page of the day, but we are definitely starting with just a check-in. Where are you at? How are you doing? How are you feeling? What's going on in your world right now? This is definitely a safe place to start there, right? To share what's really, really, really going on with us. So where I'm coming to you today, I am in Portland, Oregon, and we are, like so many of us, sheltering in place. So I'd love to hear how you are doing. Where are you located in the world? Because we do have an international community here. So like I mentioned, I'm coming to you from Portland, Oregon today, but originally from Iceland. So welcome, welcome, welcome. Good to see you, and let me know how you're doing. And to my Periscope friends, if you're interested in joining the YouTube chat, the link to my YouTube channel is actually in the, hey Wanda, how are you doing? Smiley faces. I see a new emoji there. And lots of hearts. I'm loving those pink hearts. Hey, Rachel, how are you doing? I have not done my walk yet today. I am going out for a walk later. I've been doing. So how are you guys? How are you guys? What's going on in your world today, right? This is a safe place to check in and share what's on your heart, what's on your mind. Hey, Sue, doing better, a bit up and down. Glorious weather in UK. Nice. So glad to hear that. And thank you for sharing those pictures. Thank you so much for sharing a little bit of sunshine with us from your walk. So who else is enjoying some walks today? Did you guys get out for a little bit? And I asked in our Facebook group, how are we doing on the scale from 1 to 10? Like I mentioned there for myself, when I woke up this morning, I could feel the weight on my heart, which meant, no, I just had to take extra time to tend to my body, my feelings. Had a really good breakfast and a good meditation, and actually did some theory as well this morning, and that really helped me to feel better. And then I took a long shower. So a lot of the things to kind of get back to my senses, meaning not back to my senses, but coming back to the present moment senses, like really what I'm feeling right here, right now. So thank you, Rachel. Feeling underlying nervousness, uneasiness, but yes, I got out for an hour. Awesome. Good for you, Rachel. Good for you. It's nothing like going out and walking in nature, moving that energy a little bit. Get your attention off something. Interrupt the spin cycle. Wanda says, a little rocky today emotionally. Really struggling with not beating myself up and not letting my teen self drive. I hear you. I hear you. I am sorry that you're having a hard time. I am very sorry that it feels hard. And interesting, isn't it, Wanda, right? It's like when we feel the most vulnerable is when we tend to be the hardest on ourselves. Kind of interesting, isn't it? The signal is a bit choppy. Okay. Thanks for letting me know, Sue. Yeah, I've saw a message from YouTube that basically they're scaling back, meaning the quality of the videos are not going to be as good as they might have been in the past. So, hey, Sue, I see you over here on Periscope now. There's two of you. Yes, Rachel, right? That spin cycle. Who can relate to the spin cycle? Does your mind, maybe even lately, especially going into a little bit of a spin? A bit ahead, okay. And delayed over there. Sue is navigating our streams. Yes, exactly. All right. Well, good to know, my friends. Good to know. We're doing the best we can. Doing what we best we can, and so is the internet. I think the internet, right, is being hammered with all the people of the world that are trying to stay connected via the internet, right? So, yes, says Wanda, interesting that I'm identifying where the feelings coming from and not acting out of the feelings like I used to. Excellent, Wanda. Excellent, right? Good for you. Good for you. That's what it takes, right? As hard as it is for us, right? When we have survived disconnected from our bodies, it wasn't safe. There was no one there to support and to validate what was going on for us. So, not going there. But as we are practicing awareness and being mindful and learning to hold ourselves, practicing, becoming more resilient, more present, more grounded, more understanding the importance of the felt sense of what we're experiencing as we are letting it go, right? Releasing it. It's just energy. It's just energy in motion, right? And what hurts us is trying to hold on to the energy. So, and now once you become more aware, recognizing as it comes up, it's coming up with information. It's giving you some information to take a look at. What do I want to do with that? What does that mean? Exactly. That's right, Rachel. You are becoming the observer and not getting sucked into it. So, yes, you're welcome, Wanda. Wanda sent me a quick message this morning. She just needed a validation, right? Sometimes that spin cycle comes up with some crazy ideas of how it is and how the world is and what we should or should not be doing. And usually it's directed towards us. So Wanda did what I've encouraged all of you guys to do, is to reach out to a safe person and get a little reality check. It's just like, these are my feelings. This is what I want to do. This is what's coming up for me. And just to have someone say, hey, I hear you. I see you. Of course you feel that way. Of course it's okay. Of course, right? You're not crazy. Understand where it's coming from. Then that helps us and gives us that space to take a pause, right? We do that outside here with someone else. And then we also learn to kind of start to do that for ourselves. So, and there's always going to be times where we're going to need that from other people, right? Absolutely. And as I was sitting down here and preparing for just, reflecting on our conversation today, talking about overwhelm, right? Overwhelm is actually a nervous system response. So when we start to feel overwhelmed, that's a red flag for you as a human, right? We talk a lot about it. Wow, this is so overwhelming. Wow, this is so overwhelming. But to then recognize that something inside of you is telling we're reaching that tipping point. When I go the overwhelm, we tip from I can do this, right? Your nervous system can handle it, can handle a little stress, can handle a little uncertainty, can handle little things not always going according to plan or people showing up or whatever. But when we bump into that overwhelm, on the other side of it is I can't, I shut down, right? We literally tip into from the part of our brain who can, reason and understand, problem solve. But when we tip into, I cannot, I'm overwhelmed, it's a sign that we're actually coming down into shutdown mode, which is we fall back onto our reptilian brain, which is then just in survival mode. Or we tip into our emotional brain first, which is we are reacting from the fight or flight, defending ourselves, protecting ourselves, or we go into complete shutdown. The good news, though, that we are all experiencing this as a collective is that we have each other to validate this experience. But for so many of us growing up, hey, Heidi. But for so many of us growing up, we didn't have any validation of the experience that we were having at home. Welcome, Heidi. Just a heads up. I'm also chatting with my people on YouTube. So I'm glad you're here. So Sue, thank you. She's saying, I think overwhelm is where I lived for quite a lot of my time. Right? Makes sense. What puts us in the overwhelm is that if we don't have stable caregivers that we have safely attached to growing up, if we don't know my mom's got my back or my dad's got my back, right? So that overwhelm is because we are insecurely attached to anything, right? We are not seen or heard or held or validated or supported. And so in our little nervous system, in our little bodies, we are constantly trying to connect. And we are in overdrive, hyperdrive, trying to figure out what do I have to do to get connected to this caregiver whom biologically I'm dependent on, needing to connect. But then from experience, I don't trust this connection. So it's hard. And so that's where a lot of that overwhelm comes from. But like I mentioned, the difference with the overwhelm that so many of us are feeling today is because as a collective, we are experiencing this, and we have people all over the world to validate this uncertainty, this overwhelm, this sadness, the grief, from loss or fear or whatever is how that shows up for us, how that shows up for you. So let's see. Wanda says, if you have time, can you talk a little bit about chakras? Except root. All right, Wanda, maybe that's a different talk, but I'm happy to talk about chakras sometimes. Good for you. Good for you. So chakra are basically our energy centers of our body. And so when we do healing work, it's often very helpful to do energy work with our chakras. So, yep, of course. Good for you to explore, because we are multidimensional beings, my friends. We are energy. Between you and me, right? I'm energy, you're energy, and what's here between us, the stuff that we can't grasp or put our fingers on, it's energy. So nice. Excellent. Awesome, Heidi. I'm glad you're here. So Rachel shares here, she says, I've been forcing myself to do the self-check-in the past 2 days and realize how thick of a callus covers my feelings on a daily basis. I hear you. I totally understand. And she goes on to say, it's a major effort to tap into my feelings. And when I do, I keep feeling like running away and doing something else. I understand. Totally understand. Thank you, Sue. It's validating Rachel. And Heidi, just so you know, you can find the link to my YouTube channel in the Periscope profile if you want to hop on over. So just want to let you know. But I've been sitting with myself and saying what I need, what I feel I need to hear. My body is too familiar with the insecure attachments. I hear you. I hear you. And this is it, Rachel. This is how we heal, right? It's like we are retraining ourselves, right? Retraining. We learn to be this way. We learn to operate this way because of our biology. We couldn't help it. And then given our caregivers, how they responded to us and how they took care of themselves and each other, that's what we learned. We can't help it. So as we learn to be this way, we can and we are slowly but surely learning to be different. And also just want to say, yes, I hear you, Sue. You used to say quiet a lot. I can't do this. I hear you. I totally hear you. And to learn to kind of, accompany ourselves, meaning how, as we develop becoming the parent and the protector that we needed, right, is when we learn to be there with us, be with your inner child, be with your wounded self as they are learning to express that feeling. So be gentle with yourselves. If you recognize that maybe this feeling is too big to hold by yourself, reach out to a safe person, ask someone else to hold the safe space for you, because that's part of it. When we reach out to others and have someone hold space for us, when we process those big, hard feelings, that is also how we then learn to do that for ourselves. Because it is developing, Rachel, like you said, that witness, separating yourself, creating that witness, being that loving presence as you let your feelings come out. So, yes, it is always good, isn't it? It feels very nice to be validated when people can relate, when we share. Absolutely. You are not alone, my friend. You are not alone. So, hey, friends. So with that, I'm going to turn to our page today. I've already talked a little bit about this. So we are turning to our page 86 in the book, right? But if you are here and you don't have the book, that is okay. It's okay. Each page is independent. If you'd like to learn more and join a group where we share our journal entries, please send me a private message. Happy to share more with you. But today we started with that overwhelm. We talked a little bit about overwhelm, right? The problem with child abuse survivors is that the abuse happened regularly. The books are available on Amazon and Kindle. I'm holding that up here for a second. So if it occurred perhaps every day, every week, or a month for years, maybe even longer, and since that might have been a normal state of being as a child, right? Survivors of this kind of trauma grow up very often stuck mentally and emotionally in overwhelm for all the reasons I just talked about, right? But there's nothing normal, right, about chronic overwhelm. It is toxic. It is toxic to our nervous system. It's toxic to our bodies. Because if our bodies, our nervous system are pumping the hormones that are meant to fuel our need to fight or flee or to shut down only temporarily, but if we live in that state, right, that puts us in a chronic, hyper alert, toxic state for a long time. So it is very important that we learn as part of healing to understand what the nervous system, what the biology is doing, right? It's just doing what it's hardwired meant to do to keep you safe. But how can we work on lowering that tension and that drive inside of your body so your body can do what it does best, which is healing itself? But it's hard to heal when it's constantly focusing on surviving. So coming back into right rest and digest and a state of more of a calm, right? So the two questions that I asked today: how has overwhelm sabotaged your life? And the second question was, because simplification is the cure for overwhelm, gently remind yourself that you learn to be this way and that you can learn to be different. What are you learning to do differently now? So Sue had shared with us her comments, her journal entry here, her thoughts on this. She says, overwhelm has sabotaged my life for years because I tried to be perfect, please everyone, and control my circumstances to stay safe. But of course, that was all impossible. And so often I'd feel overwhelmed and just think I can't do this, which of course was true as a child, absolutely. And then I'd beat myself up as a failure and be hard on myself, which only made it worse. I hear you, Sue. I am so sorry. You are not alone. Who can relate? Who else here tried to be perfect as a strategy to please everyone and try to control our circumstances? I should be holding up both hands, right? So I know you're not alone, Sue. She goes on to say, now I'm learning to be kinder to myself, to realize that perfection is simply not an option, and to recognize that I'm good enough just as I am. To simplify things, when I feel overwhelmed, I try to slow down and accept myself and the way I am feeling. Then I try to take things one at a time and do the best I can. It's also about recognizing the things that I can't control and so are not my responsibility. And I don't have to make everyone else happy. I just need to take good care of me. That's beautiful. Thanks, Wanda and Rachel. I appreciate that hand up, right? Yes, me too. Thank you, Sue. Thank you so much for sharing. I totally understand, right? We all have some version of that in our mind, I think, from childhood. Mine was, I heard you say you can't do it, right? I can't do this. What did you guys have? What was the ongoing thing when you recognized, maybe you didn't even recognize, but what came up for you? What was your saying? What did you say to yourself when you felt overwhelmed? No, I hear you, Sue. Totally is easier said than done at times. Absolutely. Thank you, Wanda. Wanda says, mine was I had to do best and I couldn't fail or I was a failure. Absolutely. I hear you, Wanda. I think mine was somewhere up there too, Wanda. If I was going to try it, it had to be perfect or I wouldn't even try at all. You know, absolutely. And how I felt about myself, behind that conversation, I was being incredibly hard on myself, totally unreasonable expectations that I put on myself. So, totally understand. So, thank you, Sue. And we are all work in progress. We are work in progress, recognizing we are all learning as we practice. Wanda says here, she says, sabotage was overwhelmed my life in my quickness to disengage others when it feels, or my perception is that they are not trustworthy. It's a struggle because I realize it's a learned behavior that I adopted to keep myself safe. I understand. Totally get it. Can you guys relate? The minute you think someone is not safe, you're out of there, right? Whether it's real or not, but it's your awareness or what's coming up for you, maybe your gut feeling. And then, like you say, you're recognizing this, learned behavior you adopted to keep yourself safe from many, many years ago. Wanda goes on to say, what I'm trying to learn is that everyone will make mistakes or have situations arise that are beyond their control that may overflow into your life. Yes. Thanks, guys, for the hearts. That they are not intentionally causing you distress and that I don't need to cut them out of my life. Exactly. It's a delicate dance, isn't it? It's that balance. It's that balance, right? And again, reality check, right? If you have a relationship with this person that you can ask for clarity or check in with them. And if it's a close friend, you can maybe explain to them why this may be coming up for you, right? To say, hey, and obviously might not do this with just someone if they're an acquaintance, but if this is a good friend and that you're invested in this friendship, would be to talk with them and explain to them and recognize if what is really going on, is it your perception, is it your old expectation of being hurt, that people are going to let you down or they're going to hurt you, and right, communicate about the experience and ask for some clarity and let the other person know perhaps how it made you feel. Or if you recognize, no, this person isn't going to get it, then but you understand that what they're doing is not about you, that's your boundary, right? You remove yourself if you recognize they're overstepping your boundary or taking advantage or being disrespectful. So, which can be very tricky, especially for us growing up. Yes. I understand, Wanda. I totally understand. I totally get it, Wanda. I totally understand. So this is where we can learn, right, to separate who the person is from their behavior, recognizing that maybe some of the behavior they're acting out, right? Some of the behavior that's spilling over into the relationship with you, right, obviously says more about them than you, but we don't really know what's going on for them or her. Maybe this is her best effort, but maybe she doesn't recognize the impact it is having. So again, right, having the choice of, do I speak up about this, or do I recognize what's going on and I'm going to remove myself, or have a firm boundary recognizing this is what I'm willing to do, this is what I can do, but that's it, right? So I totally get it, Wanda. And some of us have learned the hard way. Me too. Absolutely. All of this. If we didn't learn this growing up, we definitely get to learn it in our grown up life, relationship with our partners and children and friends and coworkers. So the sooner we can navigate, okay, where do I end and where do you begin? And learn to speak up for how we feel, ask for what we need, ask for clarification. The sooner, better. And again, it's all, yes, easier said than done. Absolutely. But each little time, each step, each time we risk speaking up for ourselves, right? We're learning again, we're growing up again, supporting ourselves through some stages of growing up that maybe we didn't get to growing up when we were children. So be gentle with yourself. Be gentle with yourself. And thank you, Rachel shared here. She says, growing up, when I'd get overwhelmed, I'd give up or get the feeling to give up, or I'd get frustrated and would turn it inward in the form of anger towards myself. Yep. Beautifully put, Rachel. You are absolutely not alone. Absolutely. Right? And for so many of us, it's because we didn't have a caregiver who was encouraging and supporting and, right, nudging us along, recognizing maybe when we were showing signs of overwhelm, and to remind us, keep going. You got this. Yes. Thank you, Alex. Yep. We do have to train ourselves to be kind to ourselves. Absolutely. Yep. To be vigilant. Thank you, Alex. Yes. Absolutely. And that's, right, the part of recognizing as we, are growing up or are healing. I say the healing journey is very much about growing up again, even though we have these adult bodies. It doesn't always mean that the person inside is emotionally grown up, mature in many, many ways. I know I wasn't. I felt emotionally stunted and kind of embarrassed for a long time that there were certain things that I assumed all adults would know how to do, I didn't know. And so recognizing that I had to reparent myself. And when I say reparent myself, and I had a conversation with a client today about this, is that I had to, as I became the parent, I became the adult that I wanted to be, right? I knew I had some inherent traits that had been with me since I was a child, but I was so disconnected that I had no idea who I was or how to be a loving, kind, generous adult, and certainly did not know how to be that for myself. I was the last person that I was going to be kind towards. But then that changed, by becoming, right? Looking for examples of good parental role models. Like, okay, so what does that look like? What does that sound like? What does that feel like? And so that was such a big part of the healing journey, was to be able to show up and support myself with that loving kindness, especially when I was tipping into overwhelm. So Sue says, it was the expectations of my caregiver that caused the initial overwhelm, which is why I learned to be so hard on myself. Yep, exactly. Absolutely. When our parents are not in tune with us. Exactly. It is about encouraging ourselves. And that's what mindfulness and inner child work and, emotional awareness is all about. It's to become that attuned to yourself so you recognize, I'm starting to feel that overwhelming feeling. What do I need to self-soothe? What do I need to comfort myself? What do I need to remind myself that it's okay, that this feels uncomfortable, this is out of my comfort zone, that I'm learning to do something that I didn't have any healthy role models for, that this feels, vulnerable, this feels risky. So, and then sometimes like I need another safe person out here, right? To co-regulate from, as we are learning to self-regulate, right? That we learn to self-regulate our own emotions, our own needs, not because we're supposed to be able to meet all those needs on our own, but so we can gauge, okay, what needs can I need for myself, and who can I reach out to for support when there is stuff going on that I need additional help. Make sense? And that's what we're learning, my friends. Yes. Yep, exactly. Alex says here, we must trust our gut and speak up. Absolutely. And that's what we're learning to do as we, right, come back into our bodies, validate our feelings, find our voice, find a place to share whatever is going on with you. Good, Wanda. Glad to hear it. Glad to hear it. Because so much of the reason why we don't trust people out here, it's because we don't trust what's going on in here. But the more we learn, and again, I know I'm oversimplifying this, yep, is to slowly but surely honor whatever is coming up for you. If it's a feeling, if it's inside of you, right, it needs to be seen. It needs to be heard. It needs to be validated. And most of us have this bottomless pit need to be heard, to be seen, to be encouraged, to be validated, because we never got it. And the only way to meet that need for us as adults, unfortunately, we can't ask our friends to do that for us. Yes, they can comfort us, but the part that we can do, we are with us ourselves 24/7. We can be the person. Right, Rachel, you had shared how you're starting to check in with yourself regularly. Sue, also, I know you're doing that. Starting to check in with yourself regularly. I mean, that's what we needed as children. Can someone just pay attention to me? Can someone just check in and see if I'm okay? Can someone just really, make sure that I'm breathing, right? Yep. One step at a time. Yep. So there is some of that we can start to tend to for ourselves. I know. I totally understand. Wanda says, or we were made to feel that we were wrong if our feelings made others uncomfortable. Here's the thing, Wanda. Feelings make people uncomfortable, period. Feelings make people uncomfortable, period. Right? Most people are not comfortable with feelings. That's why they don't want you to have yours, because then you remind them of the feelings they are not comfortable with. So this is where, again, support groups, coaches, therapists, friends, where we can talk about it and have the feelings. I need to have a good cry. Go for it. Yes, that was why my dad was angry all the time. I hear you, friend. He didn't know how to express anything. Exactly. Exactly. He'd been holding on to that for a long time. And then we explode. We literally explode. So Rachel says, hey, mom, look at this. Yes, Rachel, I have 3 kids. I know that one. Mom. Absolutely. Sue says here, yes, but sometimes easy to feel like we have failed if we need to ask for help. It is not a failure. It's a sign of healing. It's a sign of progress. When it's like, hey, I need help, right? None of us is going to do any of this human thing alone. We're not meant to being and doing it alone. We actually, right here, friends, as we speak, right here, right now, your body is scanning my body. Your nervous system is going, I don't know about this person. I don't know. What is she saying? I don't know about the way she looks. I don't know how her smile makes me feel. Your body is resonating with my body, leaning in. We are kind of co-regulating right here as we speak. We are navigating this conversation together. We're going back and forth here together. And when we can have these conversations, bring these hard conversations out in the open, into the energy between you and me, right? We pull it out of the secret places, out of the shameful places, out of the broken places. Yep. Absolutely. Alex says we're all moving through things and trying to adjust through these trying times. Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's what I was just saying earlier. It's like the good part of, right now is that we're all going through this. None of us is feeling like it's my fault. I'm the only one. We are all going through it. We're going to talk about it as a collective. We are validating the reality for each other. But so many of us have the realities from childhood that we didn't get to talk about, that we didn't get validated, that we didn't get the tears we didn't get to cry, or the sadness we didn't get to express. So then for some of us, the overwhelm we may be tapping into now is tapping into the old overwhelm. So if it's coming up now, then honor it. Yes, exactly. Alex says, I go for walks and get some sun on my face, adjusting through this epidemic. Absolutely. Self-care, mindfulness, breathing, yoga, listening to audiobooks, going outside as much as we can. That's right. There you go. Periscope definitely helps. Remind myself to be persistent and calm. Excellent. Thank you, Alex. I appreciate that. Great tips. Rachel says here, oh, yes, I've struggled with that too, and I don't want to disappoint anyone or make them go out of their way or inconvenience them. I totally understand, Rachel. Who else here, right? Felt like a burden for so long. Yep, I hear you. Sue recognized here, she said, that was my mom, never expressed her feelings, and then she exploded. Yep, I hear you, Sue. And Wanda says here, yes, Rachel, I never want to cause anyone inconvenience or be a burden to them. Yep, being a nuisance or a burden. I totally get it, my friends. Yeah, totally deal with not want to be a burden or a bother to people. I hear you. I hear you, my friends. I hear you. I see you. I feel you. And why I am so glad that you guys are here, right? Just sharing, talking about this like this here out in the open helps other people see, wait a minute, I am not alone. I am not the only one struggling with this. And talking about it, right? Most of the ways that we are being hard on ourselves is actually was a survival strategy. It was a coping mechanism. And it was the best that we could come up with given our environment, the parent and the grown-up that we wanted, to be, and the parent that we needed. It comes with daily practice, daily intentional practice. And part of it is, as we do here, we talk about all the different systems that we're made of, all the different needs that we may have, understand them, understand the systems independently, and then we learn to bring them all together and integrate them as a whole. So, well, sweet friends, I am so glad that you were here to share, encourage, and validate. Hey, Sue over here. And I pulled a card for us today. Yes, absolutely. Alex says, and to work towards moving to an independent way of life. Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, thank you, Rachel. But the card I drew for us today, one day she decided to plant a garden. One day she decided to plant a garden of her own, and it blossomed. So for some of us, this right here is the garden of new friends, garden of support system, garden of safe people where you can blossom, your safe space. So I don't know who needed to be reminded today. But I love gardens and trees and flowers. And actually that comes up for me a lot, wanting to have a garden, big garden. Who knows? Who knows? Maybe I'll have one day. And I was just thinking about the tree in the background. I planted a tree. The group here, you guys, right, gave me the tree that I planted for all of us. So that's our tree that's blossoming. Yes, Wanda. Yes, my friends. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Stay safe and healthy this weekend. Take it one day at a time, my friends. I do plan to be in the Facebook group tomorrow. If anybody wants to check in then and there. So, but I am, yes, thank you, Sue. Me too. I was going through some old photos. But I wish you all the best, my friends. Please be gentle with yourselves, being kind to yourselves, and rest all you want. That's the best thing we can do to stay healthy is rest. Less doing and more being. Maybe except for that daily walk that we're allowed to take right now. So, all right, sweet friends, thank you again so much. And remember, You already have right now everything that you need to heal and restore. And in my heart of hearts, I believe that we are going to get through this. We will get through this, and we will get through this together. All right, friends. Yes. Thank you, friend.